Why did you come here today? There are many reasons, I guess. And why they asked me to speak directly after lunch, I'm not sure. There's normally a reason if you ask somebody to speak directly after lunch, because that's not that easy. But fortunately, it's not my story at all. And if I say, why did you come here today? I was just saying to Steve, one of the real kicks in life to me is that I sometimes get the impression that God may even have put me through all of this that I lived through, most of it here in Pretoria, for no reason other than there is somebody sitting here who needs to hear the story. And that blows me away every time. And may I say that to testify, what is the reason? I'm not trying to sell books at all. There's no benefit for me. The benefit is in hearing what God did through the book, through the testimony to people. So it's between you and Him. So I'm innocent. I'm just a testifier, if you like. And the Bible is clear. John 5:31 says, if you testify about yourself, your testimony isn't true. And I'm very aware of that. So it's not about me. You're going to get more out of this half an hour. And you can ask any question after that you want to, if you look beyond me. The Bible is also clear in Psalm 78 that you must share with generations to come for them to be encouraged and put their faith in God. So hopefully the story will help some of you. So if you turn to the first slide, let me just see if we get it connected. There, okay, that is what I've just done. The title is simply Doing Business with Purpose. So the second slide after that, I'm just going to tell you the story, and hopefully the slide will make sense to you. I'm not going to go through it point for point. What happened? I was a very ordinary person with no particular traits. I wasn't a Springbok. I actually knew Mannetjies Roux. He was at the same school, but that's about the end of my rugby fame. I don't think he knew me. I wasn't in school leadership, nothing. I come from a very simple family. My father was by far the poorest farmer in the district near Malmesbury in the Cape. So I worked in corporate life because when I was young, that was the thing to do. Find yourself a good job and work at corporate life. And at age 38, and maybe that was something that caught God's eye. I don't know. I'll ask Him. But at age 38, I worked for Armscor in Pretoria, and it was a nest of political nonsense. As the border conflict went down, the corporate politics increased by the day, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I had a great job, but I physically resigned in September 1978 to get me out of the mess, and I had nothing the next day. My wife said, okay, now where are you going now? I said, I don't know. So I took a year, and I started to find out whether private business was going to go with my constitution. And after a year, I started a small company called Infotech. 3 people worked for me. And in September 1980, a year after I started, I was facing bankruptcy. Please get it straight. I was facing bankruptcy. I wasn't bankrupt yet, but I was definitely heading that way. Why? Because I had no capital. And please remember that to this day, no outside capital was necessary in the business. So when you start up and you have no capital, then the odds increase quickly. So I lived from month to month, and item 2 said the order was postponed. The customer phoned. I desperately needed the order to survive, to pay the 3 people. Customer phone said, good news, we're going to buy the stuff. And I can remember it was like jam all over me. Oh, thank goodness, they're going to buy the stuff. They said, but not now. In March next year, 6 months from now, with a capital budget. What do? You say, can I come and have tea? Maybe that's the last free tea you'll have. So I went there, I walked past the land bank building, which was on the way, and I didn't have a good relationship with God. I was like a second Sunday Christian. But amazing how good your relationship suddenly becomes when you are in trouble. So in front of the land bank, the thought came to me, and you may think I'm just trying to be funny. That's what happened. The thought came to me, this is a great place to pray, because the farmers pray here before they go into the land bank. So that is what happened. And I stood there under the tree, didn't make a fuss. I just stood there and said, God, I have no plan whatsoever. If you don't help me, I'm tickets. I didn't say tickets, but if you don't help me, I'm done. And I'm 40 years old. I have no way of starting again. So I went on, and I went to the customer. And what I also did when I prayed, I can vividly remember, I thought, Lester Pelly, you better make the prayer count. How stupid. Before you really get to know God, you make these silly things. So I said, God, and I'll give you 30% of the company if you help me. Now listen to that. How many accountants are here? 30% of a bankrupt company, So, but for some reason, God looked beyond that. Because He looks at your heart, He looks at the future, He looks at things. And at least I remembered the 2 verses in blue at the bottom. You can look for yourself. But I got to the customer and said, fine. So you want to buy the stuff, but not now. And Johan Nell, the guy, said, yes. I said, can I rent it to you? He said, fantastic. I've got money in the rental budget. That's how big corporates work. They've got budgets for this and budgets for that. I've got money in the rental budget. How much? I'll give you an order right now. And that is how simple. Now, people have asked me, how do you know it was God that helped you? I can only say to you, I know. It wasn't me. I had no plan whatsoever. But it was what happened after that that makes me be able to stand here today and tell you His hand was on the business from that moment on. Why? I don't know. Maybe because you need to hear the story. But His hand was for some reason on the business. And maybe the only reason is the last verse, Ecclesiastes 5 verse 3. It's better not to vow than to make a vow and not fulfill it. Don't mess with God. Don't offer Him 30%, however stupid that offer was, and not fulfill it. So at least, and that's the only merit, and let me now deal with myself finally, and now the rest of the talk is not about me. The only merit I have is that at least I remembered to fulfill my promise. And I registered the trust, the Malgon Foundation, that is alive to this day, and put the 30% in. And in reaction to God's blessing over time, I did what an American businessman did way back 100 years ago, R.J. Letourneau, offered 10% to God and eventually turned it over to 90%. And I turned the 30% over to 70%. So God owns 70% of the business to this day. Now, before we can turn over, the next slide is called the power of the key. Now, what have I learned? One of the most basic, important lessons I learned over the years is what I like to call the power of the key. It's very simple. Like the rest of God's message, it's simple. Even I can understand the whole thing. If you are a member of a family, the Tui, Piet the Tui, then Oupa's the Tui and Oupa the Tui will do whatever they can, and Mommy and Oma the Tui, to do whatever they can for you. Why would God be different? So you are His child, you're a member of His family. The moment you accept Him, His offer is guaranteed already. You don't have to worry about it. So the moment you accept Him, you're a member of His family, and the richness of the family is yours. And God has a notion of life has a way of slamming doors in your face. That's what happened to me. The door slammed closed. I had no future. I know. It was as dark as anything. I felt like a dead man walking. What happened? I used the key of the Holy Spirit. And if you think about it, it's really very simple. I'm your child, God. I'm using the key. The key is simple. Ask Him. How do you use the key? Ask Him. How do you use the key of your family at home? You ask your Father. So, without, you seem like a Christian bunch, so I don't have to explain these things too much. But just to put it in a different perspective for you. So, you receive, point 3 there, you receive the grace which is undeserved family favor. If you're a little boy, klein Jannie de Toy, and you need a bicycle, and you ask your mother, not your father, you ask your mother. You get the bicycle, little bicycle with wheels. Why? Because mothers understand grace. Fathers don't. I'm just joking. So, item 4, be obedient and withstand testing. Will you be tested if you put your hand in God's hand and go with Him? Of course you will. Why? Because Oupa the Toy will test you as well. I had a uncle, and I went and had holidays with him, and there was a little English boy next door, and I don't know what. My uncle was still fighting the Boer War. He made me fight this little friend of mine, and for a tikkie. And then, luckily there was no harm done. So be obedient and withstand testing. You will be tested because life tests you, and God tests you too because He wants you to grow your relationship with Him. So item 5, grow the relationship. I'm not gonna explain it to you here. How? Spend time with Him, speak to Him, do things like I'm telling you here today. Grow the relationship. Now, the verse in blue at the bottom, I just mentioned it from 1 Corinthians 2:14. Sometimes you may tell this story to your neighbor tomorrow. And he says, yeah, nee, but it's one of those Bible punches again, So the Bible is quite clear on it. There are several places. Corinthians, the person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, but considers it foolishness. And Hebrews 4 verse 2 also says, the message was of no value to them because they did not share the faith of those who obeyed. So these things we're talking about is only for people who believe. Now, you can turn over because I'm going to tell you something just to explain how simple-minded I am. the way I understand God, and I have asked myself hundreds of times, why did God do this to me? What did I do? And at some point I believed it was my mother's prayers, which might be true. What is it that made God to favor me materially and spiritually? Because it's a privilege to stand here and share the story with you. And every time it means more to me than to most other people, because I don't know, there's a new facet that comes to me every time. And we worked out the other day, we've shared the testimony with some 30,000 people in South Africa, in the UK, in China. I'm going to China again in a month's time, in Sri Lanka now, and so on. The Chinese are very proud that they're the biggest Christian nation in the world. 100 million Christians, less than 10% of the population. So there's real growth opportunity there. Any of you want to go and do missionary work in China? There was a talk on radio RSG, whatever it is. One evening, Sterre en Planete. Sorry for those English people here who can't understand. Stars and Planets. Sunday evening program. And there were two guys, two Americans. Steve, they were real Americans, because the one was called Jaapie van Zyl and the other one was called Anton Koekemoer. And they were both doctors in physics, and they work for NASA. And Jaapie van Zyl is the guy heading up the Mars program, and Koekemoer is the Hubble telescope fellow. He's the manager of the Hubble telescope. And he talked about this piece of the creation, and it's an infinitesimally small piece of God's creation. Small. You can't see it with your eye. The Sombrero Galaxy. And let me blow your mind away. The Sombrero Galaxy, little piece of God's creation, somewhere in the universe, is 28 million light years away. I know you don't understand it, I don't. 28 million light years away. The sun is 8 light minutes away, and it will take you 20 years with the aircraft to get to the sun. 20 years to the sun is 8 minutes. This is 28 million light years. Now that is actually enough. I can talk for the rest of the day about this magnificent piece of the creation. But that helped me to understand who the Creator is. And by definition, a creator of anything is much larger, bigger than what he or she creates. So that constellation of galaxies is 50,000 light years across. It contains 800 billion suns, like our sun. And finally, it moves away from us at 1,000 kilometers a second, which can mean only one thing to my limited understanding of physics. The creation is still happening. It moves away. It's not imploding. It's still happening. So I'm just sharing this with you. You can read up on it yourself. So that helped me to understand when the Bible says, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. Because you can get a feeling of who He is by what He created. And He's still creating and managing every day. So if we turn around, God then, the God of the universe, then took that little bankrupt backyard company, Infotech, literally in the backyard of the Rondalia building in Pretoria. I don't know if it still exists. Some of you may know it's opposite the City Hall, the Rondalia building. I could not afford offices on the grand floors. It wasn't really a grand building at all, but so I could only hire something in the backyard. And he took it by the neck, and over the past 38 years, he literally, with his hand on the business, took it to a group that is at the moment an international, sounds even grander if I say a global group. I always thought it was real nice when people talk about their global empires. Now I share that joy with God because it's His, not mine. So it consists of some 200 companies in 10 different industry sectors, doing business throughout Africa, Australia, the UK, the European Union, Eastern Europe, and America, even Scotland. So without any external capital. Now, any of you who's in business here will say, if that's not a miracle, I don't know. But miracles are common to the Creator. So I'll just give you a taste of it. The left-hand top block is mostly tech companies. Urbanize is listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. They're involved with all kinds of things I don't understand. Niekerk Marine, I understand fairly well, is the world's only company taking out marine cables that are not used anymore and recycling it. And we have 3 ships in operation picking up cable throughout the world, even for the American Navy. And then I put Infotech there, it's still around, must be the oldest IT company in existence now. Mobile data, I don't know what they do. The 3 stars next to the group means global, 2 stars Africa, and 1 star only South Africa. Then the bottom left is just indicative of a number of property companies. Surely you know Atterbury Property in Pretoria here. And Mass is a property company we started in the UK. And then on the right-hand side, King Price. If you're not insured with King Price, you're not really insured. 3 stars because they are now moving into global operations. They've just moved to Namibia. I'm joking. Things are going well in Namibia. We're into Australia and plans for Europe and so on. Nilo, especially for the ladies here, is the world's largest breeder of crocodile skin in a free flow environment. There's one bigger company that breeds them in concrete pens. We don't like that idea. So they looked after very well, you know, up to a point. all very civilized. Then Easy Gym on the right-hand side in the middle is a chain of 19 at the moment, 19 or 20 gymnasiums throughout London, Southampton, that area, and moving into Europe now, in Spain. REH has just completed the 3rd of, we've got the rights to build 5 hydros in the Ash River in the Free State from the water coming down from the Katsi Dam. So it's a very steady stream of water, 16,000 liters a second. So I'll show you a picture of that. 4PL is a logistics company and so on. So this just to give you some idea of the business. What is important? Of course, I'm a human being. It feels nice to brag about it because it's not me. I know it's not me, but it's still nice. It's like a farm worker sitting on the back of the truck. Man, this is a great truck. You know you didn't buy the truck, and you don't worry about the upkeep or nothing. You're just along with the ride. That's how I feel. And what is important on the slide is what is at the top. How do we see ourselves? The black letters at the top. We are stewards amazed at what God is doing. That is how we sit in head office and remind ourselves every now and again that stewards, we are just stewards. We're not owners. Amazed at what God is doing. At the bottom, the Bible is very clear. Business is about money, and business success is about a lot of money. And what does money do? Money is not necessarily a great thing. There's nothing wrong with money. It depends on what you do with the money. So at the bottom, the Bible says to you, use the things of the world, money. Use the things of the world as if not engrossed in them. So you're going to ask me, so I'll somehow tell you straight away, yeah, I've got a Porsche, but it's that size. So a kleintjie. I actually have two. So, and I get a lot of joy out of collecting little models. You don't need more. You can have more than one. So the next slide, we're going to just go through it quickly. Top left is the Atterbury's magnificent development in Waterfall here near Johannesburg. And on the top right is the hydro in Bethlehem in the Free State. This was just completed. The bottom left is one of the 3 ships that pick up redundant telecom cables. And on the bottom right, the beach houses of the crocodiles. The next slide is something I'm nogal proud of. The spread on the top half of the slide is a magnificent development that we've just completed in Edinburgh in Scotland. Atterbury and Mass together in partnership. It consists of 3 hotels, a lot of retail, I think 106 penthouses that was led to the Scottish government for the politicians. Politicians like pads, so it's very nicely done. On the bottom left is Easy Gym, I think it's the one in Oxford Street in London. On the bottom right, we can't take a picture of Urbanized because it's just a lot of Australian Aussies in the office, so we took a picture of the dinges there. Now, I'm nearing the end. The next slide is, how does the whole thing work? At the top is our mission. A company must have a mission. They work on it and then they put it away and they never think of it again. So we also have a mission, and we wanted to be a little grand, so we asked the professor at Pretoria University what help us with the Latin. And he says, the name Mergon is from 2 Greek words. He asked us, what does your name mean? I said, well, it's 2 Greek words, which means the area of the flock. Nome is the area of the flock in Greek, God's flock. And ergon is, wat is doeltreffendheid in Engels? Efficiency, effectiveness. So the effective expansion of the area of the flock, of the kingdom. That is what Mergon means. So the prof then said, okay, fine. Regni is kingdom, negotia is business in Latin, and extendimus is expansion. So expanding his kingdom through business, and how do we do it? We do not see ourselves as expanders, we are just the instruments. God does the expanding. He works on his kingdom himself. So the Mergon group, as I said at the top there, just under the heading, 70% belongs to the Mergon Foundation, which is completely independent. My family cannot take over. And unlike many of the American foundations, there's no Van Niekerk in the name, because it's not mine, it's God's. So the Mergon Foundation owns 70%. And then the 30% remaining is split between my family and the top management. So on the right, we're not going to talk the investments we've done. On the left, how does the foundation work? There are all kinds of side things like Nation Builder and many other things, which I'm not going to talk about now. But at the bottom left, the allocations come from dividends that the 70% shareholder, which is God, justifiably get as a shareholder every year, hopefully a little more every year. The current year, it's 115 million rand, which flows to Mergon Foundation out of dividends from the business, and that is used to support organizations, like some of the organizations sitting here. And these organizations run, at the moment, some 800 projects, mostly in Africa, because we are Africans, but a few in other parts of the world as well. But Africa and the Middle East is our turf. And then the next slide is just to give you an idea of the type of project. The one, the little red clothed cuties in Durban are Live Village, which cares for sexually devastated children from their own family environment that the government takes out and places in safe housing. A wonderful project. Top right, you remember the Rwandan genocide, and that there are still, I think there's about 32,000 guys left in pink, and we support a project that concerns itself with reconciliation between the convicts and the people where murders took place. The bottom left is Dr. van Straten from Helderberg in Somerset West Outreach, helping another little Mozambican into life. I somehow think there's enough already, but we help those who need. And then on the bottom right, we try and promote the same kind of work, trust work, within all the companies. Atterbury, for instance, has several trust-type facilities. The Atterbury Theatre is one. But it's also got in Pretoria West, this is Sister Wessels, I think her name is, where we assist the poorest of the poor in Pretoria West. They pay 50 cents and they get cochlear implants and all kinds of fancy things. So we assist the expensive doctors. Next time when you pay through your ears for a medical procedure in Pretoria, feel a little happier that maybe the doctor works in the clinic half a day every month or something. If he doesn't, ask him, because it's amazing how these specialists, highly trained guys, how they appreciate once you've dragged them into it. To them it's now a great thing. We're doing something for the poor, which is what we all should do. The next slide, quickly, the Logos Hope bookship. I'm sure you know enough about it. Top right is a secret project we have in China. Secret in the sense that in China things work. I'm expecting to be jailed soon. I said that's one of the things I want to go to, more dangerous provinces that I can get jailed. It'll be a great story to tell. I'm talking nonsense. So, bottom left is Davar, sitting right here, a project to bring God's word to people who do not have the word in his own language. So the Var is doing a great job, and there's another 3 million people who can hear the word through the Var's efforts. And it's interesting, if I'm not mistaken, 60% of the world population has got no access to the for various reasons. He can't read. The Bible is not available in his language. The government disallows Christian work in his country, and so on. Then bottom right is a wonderful typical project that we not favor, but a church in Durban run a course on a Saturday morning to assist jobless people to go into business. Now that sounds a little weird, to assist jobless people to go into business. So Mr. Shezi, that's his name, he caught on to this idea and he started a waste management business. And he got a 3-wheeled bicycle and things. Last time I heard, he employed 27 people because he used his brain. He went to the schools in his environment, and I don't know what the formula is. Maybe he gives them a little sweet if they bring plastic and paper and stuff. So the carriers come like ants and bring the stuff, and he's got 27 people already. I think it's a lot more now, processing these things for the factories that he sells it to. That is a South African story. That is the sort of thing we can encourage in the vicinity where we live. And the best of it is that we clean up the environment. Then finally, the last slide, what did we learn? A lot more than I can put here, but the major things, in my opinion, are things like, one, to try and help you with, let's say, the main items from our perspective. The prosperity trap. Money, I say again, is a dangerous commodity. It is one of the sharpest tools used by the devil. You all know that. So there are 2 outcomes if you have a lot of money. If your business is successful, 2 outcomes. The one is you deal with the money responsibly. Then there are benefits and freedom and joy. I know a fellow in Stellenbosch who's got 4 holiday houses. I'm not sure if that's really necessary. Some other guys may have more. I've only got 4. I haven't asked him about it, but 4 holiday homes doesn't seem to me as if it's dealing with money responsibly. So responsibly, or the money curse. You expose yourself to the devil using money as a dagger and getting at you. And I don't really have to explain it. I want more. I want this. I want that. I stuff myself with worldly things till you explode like Humpty Dumpty. So basically, and that to me is life. You know, there are normally 2 roads. The second thing is success. One of the most important things I've learned. Success is often about serving yourself, whereas significance has mostly to do with serving others. And if I can help you, what I've learned is that there are 3 steps to achieving significance in life. And it may sound somewhat odd to you, but it's not really. Step 1, 2.1, significance. And by the way, significance is, in my opinion, unexpected fulfillment. You only know when you do it, start serving others, that your life, there's fulfillment. So there are 3 steps that I found. Always put the organization first. If you work for a place, there will be times, daily almost, where you have to make a choice. If I do this, it's good for me, but if I don't do it and I rather do that, it is good for the business. Beware of that choice. If you choose what is good for yourself, it's a short-term gain. If you do what is right for the business, it's a long-term gain for you. The business scores and you score. I resigned out of the business 3 times because I didn't feel I was the right guy anymore. And every time God blessed me with a totally different thing. You can read about it if you want to. Point 2, start serving others. I also have a thing about the guys at the traffic light. I confess to you, and I keep on confessing because I'm still struggling with it. But start serving others in a way that you find comfort with. If you don't like serving this kind, there's a lot of other opportunities. Assist a guy to become a shezi, like the Durban guy with a recycling business. Start serving others. My own philosophy in life is feed the stream of life, not your own dam. If you have a bucket of water in Cape Town, that's now a big item, and you rather put it into the stream of life. I see people buying water in Cape Town, it's laughable. But rather take the bucket of water and put half or even the whole bucket into the stream of life, so to speak. Make it available. The originator of the stream will know that somebody downstream, like the widow, needs the water a lot more than you do. Will you get water back? Of course you will. But please listen to this. Not you will get except if you give to get. Then you will not get. I do not believe in prosperity theology at all. It's an evil. The last item is become an instrument in the hand of God. I can tell you many stories, and King Price is a great story in that direction. We simply trusted God. Must we go into this business or not? We will not go if you don't tell us clearly, and so on and so on. Don't think that you're God's partner. You're just an instrument. And I put a picture there of a trowel, since we're in the property business. A trowel is a wonderful example of an instrument. The trowel is not the architect and it's not the builder. It's just an instrument. So point 3 is something we try and use in our business. An author, A.J. Russell, wrote, "Don't try to work for me," says God. "Don't try to work for me. Live with me and for me. I am God and I will do the work and determine the outcome." Exactly like the family de Tooi, oom de Tooi, oupa de Tooi, moenie jy die job probeer doen nie. Just work on your relationship with me. I'll do everything for you. That is what we found. And I've explained the unlimited power of the key. I'm worried about how few businessmen understand the power of God in business. And I'm saying to you that the time has come for God to want to use business to change the world, because we cannot continue like this. Just a handful of people owning more than the bottom half of the world population. And that is the end of my story.